In today's video, we are talking about being resourceful, whether you are on one income, a low income, or a fixed income. Plus, I have some inspiration in the garden when it comes to your zucchini and squashes with the squash bug or the vine borer. So, if you're growing those, you don't want to miss it. I also have a frugal project I'm working on and a zucchini bread that is going to knock your socks off and is economical. Welcome to Pinebrook Homestead. My name is Marie, a happy wife with 4 boys, 2 grandchildren, and one on the way. I've been a full-time mother and homemaker for 35 years, with the last 14 developing our suburban homestead and gardens, where we grow 50% of our food. Over the years, there have been many curveballs and difficulties thrown our way. But looking back, we conquered them all with hard work and prayer. Join me this month as our No Spend Challenge continues to save money. I promise you some frugal inspiration in the kitchens, in the gardens, and for you. So, what am I doing? Well, my daughter in law, when I go to their house, she has this roll of fabric that she will use in place of paper towels. And I went, that's brilliant. I don't want to buy any more paper towels. No, I still need to have some paper towels in the house when dealing with meat. I do have 2 cats and 2 dogs. So if somebody gets sick, I certainly don't want to use my rags, my washable rags. So I thought rather than buying something like that, why don't I just take what I have and cut them up and make my own little paper towel roll? So what I have right here is an old t-shirt of mine. Wanted to see how easy it was going to be to cut up. And then I have some old flour sack towels from my kitchen that I would just use as rags, but they're stained or something like that. So they're just not, presentable in the house, but they'll work for paper towel roll. So that is one thing that we are doing. Now, while I'm doing this real quick, I thought I would give you an update on No Spend June. Very successful. It was super successful. And for some of you who were with me on that journey, and I said, that um, the unknown, the surprises was going to come up, and that we had a flat tire. Um, Thankfully, that tire was under warranty and we did not have to pay a thing to have the tire replaced. So I was just so grateful. Um, so that didn't even knock off our no spend. Going into July, my husband and I were like, let's do this throughout the rest of the summer. And so we are still using what we have. Um, I still am going to give myself a $25 grocery budget, but I have not been to the grocery store since, say, probably June 27th. I've just been using what I have, and it is working out for us. The amount of money that we are able to put back and save is wonderful. And especially because I shared with you that my youngest got his driver's license. So our insurance is going up. So we are working to um, look at the bills even closer and see where we can cut and save. So that is a blessing in disguise. So I am just going to continue on. I will let you know my husband is the main breadwinner and I have 2 part-time jobs. They don't amount to what he is able to bring home, but we are a family of 4 and we are just, really kind of pinching the pennies especially with the unknown of the tariffs that are going to hit August 1st. Um, oops. And I'm just not willing at this point um, to give up on this. I think this has been really good for our family. It has shown me, I'll tell you what it has done. It's taken the stress off of having to go to the grocery store. It really has. Looking at our own, figuring out creative ways to use up our zucchini. Um, and we're going to be processing some of the sunburst, but it really has just kind of given me some breathing room to not have that pressure of, oh, I've got to go to the grocery store. Oh, I've got to stay under this budget. If I need something, I'll go get it. Um, I really don't, I still have a gallon of milk. Um, I will need to be picking up some cheese. I will say that. That is probably the only thing that we are low on. But yeah, I think we're going to be just fine. So we are continuing our no spend through July and into August. And we're going to see at the end how everything goes. And I'll keep you updated. In the meantime, I am going to get these cut up and make my own little paper towel roll. I don't even care if they're uniformed. And then what I'll do is, as they're used, they'll go down in the wash. And I'll reuse them. So another thing I am doing today to be resourceful is I do have these squashes, and I wanted to be able to dehydrate some of them for the fall and winter when I can add it to soups. So I read up. I just have the Nesco American Harvest food dehydrator, and I was reading up on how to do the squash. So with the squash, we're going to peel and then slice, and then we are going to do a steam blanch before we put it into the dehydrator, and that will preserve it. So I'm going to get started on this, and yeah, I'm excited. This is one method that you can do to be able to store your summer vegetables. One thing that I found, I've actually used one of these in an au gratin, and I felt, my husband and I both did. We felt that the skin was just a little too tough. So I don't recommend eating the skin. You could, I'm sure it is packed with vitamins and everything. But if you're growing these for the first time, like I am, I was not that impressed with the skin. The squash itself had amazing flavor. And we're going to take the seeds out of it as well. I didn't find it to be very seedy. I did look up recipes for it, and they all said you can use the skin, but I just felt it was tough. And, but like I said, the squash flavor was amazing. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to use the whole thing. Ooh, slippery, full of moisture. Let's see. Let's do this so I have a better surface to cut it down on. There. And it's not very seedy. It really isn't. but I am going to take the seeds out. You can also dehydrate zucchini as well, and you would use the same method of steaming it before you put it into your dehydrator. And that is just what my book says for my dehydrator. Yours might be different. So always make sure to look at your owner's manual. They are still warm hot. But the directions said to get them onto the tray immediately after steaming. So just kind of work at it this way. I ended up steaming the last two for just 1 minute, and I think it worked a little better, but everything will be fine once it's dehydrated. We are moving right along today, and now let's start our quick bread. It is a zucchini cheddar cheese herb beer bread. All right, so there's a story on the beer. Our block, our cul-de-sac, has a 4th of July party every year, and someone left beer in my cooler. Well, I don't drink beer, but I'll use it in bread. So thank you, whoever left it. I am going to use it in the bread today. So, a trick that I want to tell you, if you freeze your cheese like I do, I find it on sale and I'll throw it in the freezer. But if you do and you need to shred it frozen. And then it actually comes out versus when you let it thaw and then it just crumbles everywhere. So make sure to do that. I did use one of my new paper towels. We have our chives in there. And we have to get the zucchini shredded down. So we need, we need about 3/4 cup of zucchini. So I kind of chose this one zucchini that didn't grow completely the same, I guess. Because with the rest of the zucchini, we are making zucchini fries tonight. Oh, I love zucchini fries. But just gonna shred this down. And the ingredients in this bread, they're good. I guess not the beer, but if you're not a beer drinker, go ask a neighbor if they are. Don't go buy. Just go ask a neighbor. Um, See if they have a can of beer or a bottle of beer that you can borrow. Maybe if you can borrow two, you might make them a loaf. Anyways, I'm just going to shred this down. And I am making this to go with our cream of broccoli soup. Thought it would be great. I have to tell you, I did not bake much bread. I didn't bake any bread really at all in June. It was too hot. I didn't want to put my oven on. I didn't want to heat everything up. And my poor little neighbor girl asked They were leaving on vacation, and she asked it if we had any bread. And I was like, "No, I didn't make any. Sorry." She looked at me and said, "You bake bread?" Yeah. All right. So we've got our zucchini there. This is an old grater. I need to get it cleaned up. I clean it with Barkeeper's Friend to get the rust off because it's old, it's antique. All right, so we've got plenty of zucchini here. We've got our cheese. To our bowl, we are going to be adding 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I have a question. Who's a scooper? Who takes their measuring cup and just dips it right into the flour? Or who does the proper way and spoons it in? Leave it in the comments below. I'd love to have a poll on this. I'm a scooper. All right, so 3 cups all-purpose flour. To that, we are going to add a tablespoon of baking powder. A teaspoon of salt. 3/4 granulated garlic. So 3/4 of a teaspoon of granulated garlic. Now, I will leave this recipe in the description box below. It is from a website that I enjoy. So we are going to give credit where credit is due. I have made this before and my family loved it. So 1, 2, 3. All right. And then we need a cup of cheddar cheese grated. Throw that in there. 3/4 cup zucchini. Whoops. Sorry, folks. I might be adding a little more. It's okay. Gives it good moisture. All right. So we've got some zucchini left over we have to deal with. And then we need 3 tablespoons of chopped chives. So I went out to the garden, got my chives, washed them, used my first little paper towel. So excited about little things that I like that. When some people, when you're going through a financial hardship, some people, it can be debilitating and scary. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. I've had those moments where I've gone, I don't know how we're going to do this. Always when I lift it up in prayer and believe that God is going to provide and just the provisions. I'm not asking to win the lottery or anything like that, just bills paid, food on the table. And that's all I need. That is really all I need. And this month proved that to me. I didn't need to go to the store. I didn't step in a store. Well, a Kroger or an Aldi and a Meijer. I think those were the 3 stores. All month, I went to 3 stores. I get in there and all I want to do is get home, get back in the garden. I also found that the more I walked around my home and looked around, the more I thought, you know what? I really don't need half this stuff. So I think we're doing a garage sale, not this coming weekend, next weekend. Um, I thought I'll take the money from the garage sale and put it away, put it in savings. And also the more I walked around, the more grateful I was in every room. And I literally thanked God every day for the roof over our head. And I know there's a lot of people that are struggling. There really are. And I pray for you all if you are struggling. Um, but I was grateful, walked into every room and thanked God for every room in our house. And we don't live in a big house. We live in a 1978 ranch in the suburbs. This is an older development where I live. And yeah, I love this development though. All right, so we are going to add our 3 tablespoons of chives. Chives are so easy to grow. I did do a video and I'll do another one with some updates to it, but chives are perennials. If you are not aware, I am in zone 6B. I did have a comment about from someone in South Georgia. And bless your soul, I wish I could grow rosemary all year long, but I can't. Our winters, last winter was really bad. But it is not uncommon for us to have negative temperatures in the winter. And uh, yeah, it can get cold here. So, but the chives are in a container for me and they come back every year. So I got just the right amount. So we have 3 tablespoons of chives. We are adding 2 tablespoons of honey. I did measure this out ahead of time. Let's see. Just want to get all. So that is the only sweetener in this is honey, which I like. I don't like things with a lot of sugar. I don't really have a sweet tooth. I make them for my kids, but I don't ever eat them. I like salty snacks. Okay. All right. And then we are adding the beer. So that's it. It is a quick bread. I've never even heard of this beer, but it calls for a 12-ounce can or bottle of beer. So we're just going to add that in. I'm using my dough whisk. I still don't have a mixer. I mean, I have my KitchenAid, but I don't have a hand mixer. And then on my stove, I am melting 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'll show you what we're going to do with the butter. These dough whisks are amazing. I can link them for you. A lot of times they're just as easy. I do use it a lot for bread, but look how that mixed up just with the dough whisk. Of course, the beer is going to cook off. The alcohol in the beer is going to bake off. All right. Next that we need to do is start preheat the oven and butter our pan. I always keep my butter wrappers. I know a lot of us do this, but I always keep them to use when we need to butter something. So if this is something you haven't done, when you get your real butter, just make sure when you take it out to put the butter wrapper away. There is still so much butter on these wrappers and it works perfect. You're not wasting a paper towel and you're not wasting any other butter. So works absolutely perfect to get this buttered. All right, so then we are going to put our dough right into our pan. I'm just going to spread it out a little bit so it's even. And you are going to bake this. It says for 55 to 70 minutes. I always go on the less, so I'll do the 55 and then I'll test it with the toothpick. Don't forget to keep your vegetable scraps to make your veggie broth, or I'm just adding these two in. Veggie broth or any of your other broths. And then the last final thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your 3 tablespoons of butter and you're just going to pour it right over the top of the bread. And we'll get it baked. I brought you down to the lower deck today for this portion of the garden inspiration. And I just wanted you to be able to see where we have come from, especially if you have been with me when I planted this with my container video. And I will link that for you because I do know that we have a lot of new subscribers. And I just want to welcome all of you to this amazing community of women, and we have some men. But this is inspiration to you to let you know that you can grow anything in containers. The zucchini, the sunburst yellow squash, all of these are big plants. And yes, they belong in the garden. But here's why I pulled them up here. 2 years ago, I grew everything: spaghetti squash, yellow squash, zucchini, butternut, delicata, pumpkins. I mean, you name the squashes, I grew it. And guess what happened? I was absolutely infested with the squash bug and vine borer. And those two they're the most evil pests out there. But I used to actually have a bucket of death down there. And all it was a bucket full of water and dish soap. And I would be picking squash bugs off and dumping them in the bucket. And it was just awful. And here's what happens. So the squash bug overwinters. The squash bug lays its eggs on your leaves. And let me tell you, I have been looking at all my leaves every single morning. But they lay their eggs on your leaves. And then you get another mass amount of squash bugs. They overwinter in the soil. So the next year, when you bring out your squash, well, there's their food. So this is what I did. Last year, I told my husband, no squash. We're not growing 1 iota of squash. No zucchini. We didn't start the year out with zucchini. We didn't grow 1 bit of squash. And what that did is it killed the pest pressure. There was nothing for them to feed on. So the squash bugs that were here ended up leaving and going to somebody else's garden. Sorry, fellow gardeners. But they ended up leaving. And then I didn't have any squash bugs that buried back into the soil to attack um, this year's harvest. So if you're having a hard time with squash bugs, take a year off. You know, there's so many videos out there that can say, you know, you can grow or you can spray them with the uh, Dawn dish soap and water. There's other people that, you know, it is the worst pest. And I know there's a lot of information out there to get rid of them, but the tried and true method, I've not seen one this year. Not one. Now, I don't have a lot of squash planted, but I do have some. I have delicata and a honey nut, and they're far enough apart, but I've not seen one. So, knock on wood, knock on my deck. I've not seen one. So far, so good. So, if you are having a problem, that is the tried and true method. Take a year off next year and just don't plant any squash. Now, when it comes to zucchini, if you are ones who plant your zucchini in the spring, you know, May, June, and, you know, by July, your zucchini plants have just been destroyed by the vine borer and they look like they're death warmed over. Here's the other tip. Last year, I actually planted zucchini in July and I put it out here away from the lower garden. What that does is the vine borer lays all of its eggs in June. In July, there's no more eggs for him to lay. So you can put your zucchini in and actually be vine borer free if you plant in July. And you will still, you're just going to have kind of like a August, September zucchini run. I actually did that with one area in my garden. I planted 3 more zucchini plants because I wanted to keep the zucchini going. So there is your garden tip for today. You can grow anything in pots. And if you're struggling with those squash bugs, lay off the squash next year. They'll go away. I promise. The kitchen is busy today. So just so you know, this is part 1 of a part 2 because this is a full kitchen day, but I didn't want to have such a long video for you. This is our bread. It cooked in 55 minutes. Again, I will leave the recipe in the description box below. It is still slightly warm, but we are going to slice into this. Oh yeah. Let's take a taste. Gotta have butter, warm butter on a beer bread. Oh yes. This is seriously good. You're definitely going to want to try this one. It has that herby taste to it, the cheese taste to it. It is awesome. Will go great with our cream of broccoli soup that is in part 2. So we are going to continue talking about resourcefulness. I have more to share with you in the gardens because a lot has changed in the upper garden. I cannot wait to see you again. Have a blessed day, everyone, and thank you for coming back to Pinebrook Homestead. Bye-bye, everyone.